Hi everyone, good afternoon from Vienna. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Making It in Austria. I'm your host, Adela Mejanic, and today I have a very special guest, Jillian. Jillian, welcome to our show. You are the 52nd guest. So
Wow, that is a lot. And congratulations.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. And you're the first Brit on my show. So awesome. So thank you for joining us. So let's jump into our conversation. It's afternoon in Vienna, so we want to use the rest of the day as well. So who is Jillian and what would you like to share with our viewers?
Um, who is Jillian? Good question. Um, at the moment, I'm a data scientist who is working at Crayon, an IT and AI consultancy company. Um, I'm from the UK, so born and raised in the UK, but my family have origins in Grenada in the Caribbean. So I'm actually a dual national in that sense. And yeah, I'm really I'm I tend to spend a lot of my time working on supporting women in tech and supporting underrepresented groups in tech. And I also spend a lot of time with international people. So I've been in Vienna for 8 years, and before I was in Vienna, I was also in Canada for a while as well. So and before that, I was in the UK. So I think
Wow.
that's me.
I have to ask, it's not those questions, but can you compare Canada and Austria? Because I met some Canadians, or at least one. I met one Canadian lady, Caitlin. She's not. She was the attaché at the embassy, and she's such a nice person. And then she told me like when she moved here and her first day, I think she slipped on the street and nobody was helping her, and she felt like, oh my god, end of the world. So how
Yeah,
is it?
I was in Montreal, so it's like French Canada, which is different from Anglophone Canada. Um, and I was also in the university sphere as well, but I think I love the city. I think the country is really great as well. How does it compare to? I have to compare cities. I can't
Yeah.
compare countries. Um, um, it's interesting. Montreal is way bigger, way busier. Um, One thing that they both have is that the governments do stuff for fun. So like make sure that the citizens who are living there do stuff for fun. So that's one thing that I really like about Montreal that I also find in Vienna.
Cool. I will think about it. So, Gillian, so what is a data science? So, how does your job look like? So, what kind of projects do you do? Where do you do those projects? And how do you bring that knowledge? So, how do you empower and support other women to in the STEM area?
So sorry. Um, When I'm working at Crayon in the AI Center of Excellence, and here we work with a range of different companies, helping them with their digital projects. So we have a really strong, solid team of data scientists, data engineers, AI experts, and we can work on a range of projects. So we can work on commercial things such as forecasting sales. We can work in manufacturing industry, trying to help the customer make the use of their data to maybe predict when something's going to break,
Mm-hmm.
or just help them in other ways to make their work better. And it's not in the sense of replacing people, it's in the sense of making their jobs easier and removing the mundane work that people do on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, that's kind of how what I try to
Mm-hmm.
digitalize in a way. And before I was at Crayon, I was actually at Mondi, so a paper and packaging company. And there was actually a good initiative with HR, in which there was a virtual career fair where you get to meet people who are interested in going into the career as a data scientist. And I like to support the underrepresented groups in this sense by like giving them tips on how to get into data science, giving them maybe spending a bit of time to answer some of their questions that they might not be so sure about, try and give them a confidence boost. Also, like maybe review a CV or something like this, and also try and make the use of my network as much as possible, because there are a lot of people who I know who are looking for interns, and then I know a lot of people who are looking for internships. So in this way, I also try and work magic.
Do you create scripts for that, or you run it in your head?
No, this is all in my head. But it's not so mundane, so it's fine.
Yeah. And how does one become data science? So what is your background, or in specific, and your team and your colleagues? So how can someone be there?
So my background is actually it's not in computer science basis, it's actually in molecular biology. So that's the reason I came to Vienna to do my PhD at the Vienna Biocenter. And I would say most people in the team where I am now have a PhD either in mathematics or biochemistry or physics or this kind of thing. But this is because we're like a very highly specialized team. I've worked in teams before. So in telecommunications, I worked at A1 Austria, and also at Mondi, where you don't need such a formal rigid STEM background to get there, because there's a lot of stuff that you can learn by doing and learn through self-learning and online courses as well. So I would say it's pretty open if you want to be a data scientist, if you want to learn it. So I say like the only requirement is staying open to learning new things, which is something I do every day.
So, by the way, you're my second guest that has a PhD in molecular biology.
Really? Maybe I know the other person. If they're from Austria, Vienna, maybe.
She's one of my first guests. So Azra Dedic-Schweiger. So maybe third, fourth guest. But she did her PhD at University of Salzburg, as well in Austria, but University of Salzburg. So it's a cool thing. She has her own company, so she's running her own business. So I was just making the notes, by the way, and then realizing, the second guest. You mentioned, so you came here for studies, right? And you have a, profile that is wanted. So I assume for you it was easy to find a job, or there are some challenges and struggles that you have along the way that you would like to share with us.
So apart from the PhD, I think it was not so easy to find a job, actually. I think there were difficulties, but I wouldn't say that they were on the side of myself or someone in my position. It was more that companies can be a bit afraid to go for someone. Especially if someone's coming from a molecular biology background, and then you see they're trying to do something data and analytics. For me and for people with my background, it can be pretty obvious that we can do it. But the biggest hurdle is getting the HR or getting the hiring person to believe that you can do it.
And how was the language for you, Jillian? Was it necessary that you speak German for your job?
So yeah, definitely. I was, after my PhD, I went to a graduate scheme in A1, and for that the requirement was that you speak German. Since then, I've worked in 2 positions where you don't actually have to speak German, but I don't think I would have gotten them without getting this first one where I had to speak German. And then also in my latest 2 positions, although it's not the requirement, I have spoken German in both roles in the projects, because we work with, I've worked with customers from many different countries, and sometimes sometimes they're from Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and it's a lot about explaining stuff in their language, so not necessarily a spoken language, but in a way that they understand. So in that sense, I think German has helped me a lot, but I think also in my job, any foreign language is going to help you.
I wanted to come back out of curiosity. I want to come back to what you said as a data scientist taking over the mundane tasks. But I would also say that our world is getting more and more complex. So it's not just taking away the mundane tasks; it's also about supporting us along the way. Because if I see a huge sheet of numbers that don't tell any story, so how, as a human, am I going to make sense out of it without using the tools, right? Because it's very complicated, and we need sometimes to make the decision in very fast. And then you have just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like numbers, like there's no tomorrow, and then you need to make a decision. So we need those tools.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think the data science fits in the context of making a complete solution for people. So as you say, people don't just want to see a bunch of numbers, but if you present it in a way like in a dashboard or in some other kind of user interface, which you develop with the person themselves, so you understand what they find difficult, and then you work towards helping them in this, then yeah, I think you need the whole chain. But I say, like, we take over the mundane tasks, because a typical thing would be someone who spends 1 week a month in Excel, putting numbers from one spreadsheet into another one, merging them with another one, doing a lookup, and then making a graph, and then downloading it, sending it to their boss. We can like really wrap this up. So it's not necessarily that you wrap it up and send it to the boss, but you can wrap it up and say, hey, this is what we think your monthly report is going to look like. What do you think? Or like, here is the basis for your monthly report, and then allow you to save all the time before, and then just to make some final changes or some editing and add some comments like this.
Perfect.
So I think this is where the main benefit comes in. And also, just doing things which people cannot do, such as predicting when machines are going to break. This is not possible to do. Or, for example, using computer vision to identify microscopic, almost cracks in equipment. Like, humans cannot do this. So these are the kind of things that I think AI really allows us to do.
Absolutely. So it's good to know that, one side and the other, the complexity of the world and tasks that we are living in, it's not easy for us humans to figure out, as you said. I work in a field of Internet of Things, and as you said, the example, typical predictive maintenance. So when this machine is going to break, should I send a technician every month just for the sake of it, or I have a alarm that tells me just you should be there in an hour. Jillian, transitioning now to one of my favorite topics, the network. Connecting people instead of now machines. We connected them. Now we're connecting people. You mentioned yourself, your network, how important it is, just briefly, and connecting people, internships. So how do you go around building a network, and how do you do it in a professional way, and how did you do here in Vienna as well?
Interesting question. I'm trying to think. I think my network really took off when I joined a hackathon that was hosted by the Vienna Data Science Group. And there I met a lot of people. Actually, I met some people who I anyway worked with, but I didn't realize they were part of this group. But then just through this, that was it. It was 2 days working in a team with people who you stay in touch with even now through Slack and other channels. And I think things like this just really help things kind of take off, because people, maybe they have a technical question, they ask, either they're looking for an internship, or they have an internship to offer. Also, I built my network, I think, by staying in touch with people from previous jobs. Because I like to change every now and then to new surroundings, but I've enjoyed everyone that I worked with. So it's great to just keep in touch that way as well.
That's cool. I'm also keeping notes, so connecting with your colleagues. So you've been now 8 years in Vienna. So I asked my community, what am I not asking my guests? And now I'm going to ask you this question. And one of them is, so what is next for you? So I asked you where you have been, where you are, and then the question is, what is next for you? What you wish yourself?
So my answer to this is, I just want to stay enjoying what I'm doing. So I don't have a specific job, I don't have a specific location, but I kind of use my happiness as an indicator for where I need to go. So yeah, I don't really have an answer to that question. Sorry.
I'll ask you next year, Jillian. Around this time, I will knock again, and then I'll ask you what's next.
Yeah, I just changed to a new job a few months ago. So for now, I'm still in this really fresh phase. So I'm not thinking of where to go next yet.
Awesome. So for people who are watching this, and we discussed that before, it's mostly, for people who are planning to move to Austria specifically, but as well abroad. The lessons that we learn here can be taken everywhere. So what would be the things that you would recommend someone from out the world thinking to move to Vienna?
Once you move to Vienna, it's going to be difficult to move away, because the quality of life is really, really good, especially if you come from a country or a region where the quality of life isn't so good. I can't speak for Austria in general, but there are so many things that it offers. For example, if you're really a nature fan, there are so many places which are very, very close to nature. If you're a city person, there are also some cities which have a lot of things going on. But yeah, once you move, it's going to be difficult to go.
So Vienna, yeah, you're absolutely right. So it's always every year. I forgot the magazine, but it's first or second with Australia, like with Melbourne, showing the quality of life. So,
and I moved to Canada as part of my studies, and then I left to finish my studies in the UK. When I got back to the UK, I was like, no, definitely have to leave again. So I stayed less than 1 year and then left. So I just went, finished my degree, left. And what I like about Vienna in particular, but I like about all big cities, is that they're very international. So you're always going to find a group of international people, and the bigger the city, the more likely you're going to find your community within that city. So even though I'm living in Austria and I'm living in Vienna, I see it first off as that I'm living in a capital city, and I'm benefiting from the things that I get from living in a capital city. And it just happens that the country is Austria, and the context around this is Austria. But I find like big cities are more similar to each other than they are to other cities in their country. So this is kind of what I went for and what I like about Vienna.
It's getting better as well. So you and I came around around the same time to Vienna, and maybe it's just I'm paying more attention, but there's so many more things happening. When I was back in the days 2013 googling like Vienna, Austria, so there was like one forum that I could find on Facebook, and there was a group they were sharing from time to time. I was like, yo, yeah, I was so grateful to find it. And now there's like communities, and it's a very vibrant, I think, more than ever. Just my feeling.
Yeah, I definitely think you're gonna find a community of people. Like wherever you're from and whoever you are. One thing I really like about Vienna, when I think I came from the UK, but I didn't come from London. And in the UK in particular, everything is focused on London. When you go outside of London, the quality of life, the quality of life in London also isn't great, but the quality of opportunities and activities outside of London really isn't good. So I'm just really happy for things like the Vienna Film Festival.
Yeah.
Every year you can go to Rathausplatz and watch opera and watch other things in the open air, and there are other festivals which go on where you can pretty much enjoy the city. And that is difficult to find in the UK, at least.
Good to know. Jillian, before we wrap up, I wanted to ask you, what are you reading at the moment and what would you like to recommend, or listening? So podcasts are a big hit nowadays, so we accept both.
I'm actually listening to an audiobook at the moment. It is by Gina Yashere. It's called Cat Candid. So Gina Yashere is a queer British Nigerian comedian who lives in the US right now. I really like stand-up comedies, and I liked her since she was in the UK, but now she's in the US and doing big things. And this book called Cat Candid is a memoir about her growing up. And I really like it because it's nice to know about people's growing up, people's cultural experience, and also because she's British Nigerian, and I'm like British Canadian. Like, if you grow up as an immigrant or have the immigrant experience, there are just so many things which are really funny, and that's not only for this book, but another one which I'm not reading, but I read when I was just moving to Vienna and trying to improve my German, is called Russendisco by Vladimir Kamina. And this is about a Russian person who moved to Berlin, I think it is, and also talks about his immigrant experiences there. So these two books I can recommend. They're both very funny. As people who grow up in one culture, move to another one, maybe come from a third one, there are some experiences which are just hilarious. Yeah.
Thank you, Jillian. I will certainly check it out. My husband is just reading one of those books as well. I think it's Syrians in France. So I think
they're all hilarious. Like the mistranslations, misunderstanding. I love the immigrant experience. I think it's the best thing ever.
Thank you, Jillian. Thank you so much. We had a guest for the 50th episode. It was Andra Weiss. She's the founder of the United Cultures. I didn't know about them, so I also got to know her and her work. And she's about, celebrating the migration. So because we're now talking about it, and she has partnerships, and they are trying to rebrand in a positive sense the immigration. To celebrate us, who we are, and they do that through fashion. For instance, like scarves, or they would listen to your story. So if you go on their website, they have a couple of really cool examples of people who made great careers here and are role models. And they, did socks with them and scarves and things like that. And they are also thinking to, grow their business and do more and expand and things like that. So let's just like putting a message on the socks, and just allowing you to create it. Yeah. So it's also a way to, express yourself, and you just, share it out, that message out there with the world. It's cool, as you said. And as long as we can, find joy and laugh about it, it's a good story.
Definitely.
Thank you, Jillian. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your story. I love your spirit. I wish you all the best with your new job, and I hope to see you at the next one of our next gatherings face to face.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you all of you for watching. As always, if you know someone who has a great story to share, so just send me a message on LinkedIn. Thank you for listening, and talk to you soon. Next episode coming next week.